Hey, good morning, folks. Whoa, I'm high in the hog here. Let's get ourselves there. Nice. All right, so hey, my name is Theurgy. We're creating a Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Spelljammer setting. We're going to, let me check my signal, go through my intro spiel here, and then we'll get to work. So hold on here real quick. Checking my signal, the live button here, blah, blah, blah. My signal, the live button here. All right, cool, that sounds pretty good. Let's see, combat and weapons. There, and let's see, I've got an intro spiel, so let me make sure. Weapon mechanics, there we go. Copy, paste, and hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing supplements. I publish them on. I publish them. Sorry, let me say that again. I create role-playing games and illustrate them. I publish them online as PDFs. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition over the past number of years. In the description down below, there are links to various books that I've already created. If you're here for the artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations across just the sample of books that I have listed down below. If you are a D&D enthusiast, then most of those books linked have extensive free previews. So if you're looking for mechanics as either a DM or as a player to inspire your next game or character, check out the stuff. If you think it's cool, consider making a purchase to support further shenanigans in the future. Otherwise, let's see here. Meep. There we go. Otherwise, we can best support the stream. Let's see. I mean, you can follow me on Twitter if you want to. I always post that I'm live on Twitter. I'm at Theurgy, and like I just posted, I'm live on Twitter. So hello. Otherwise, best way to support the stream is to subscribe, hit the bell icon, like to help boost the channel, let YouTube know that more people should see stuff like this. If after watching the stream you decide that more people should watch this, so tag along, sing a song, let us have some fun. So this is a book cover we created back around episode 15. We're currently on episode 208. If y'all are into this stuff, if you like, subscribe. It'd be awesome if I can keep my subscriber count above the number of episodes I have in this stream. So hopefully I can earn my keep here on your on your notification screen. I'll talk about my schedule and what we have coming up here shortly, but we've been building the hold on. Let's give you so I use ye old Microsoft Word to build my books, and we've been altering text as we go through the process of figuring out where we want images on, where we want our illustrations on the page to be. So each day we come here, we do some stream, we figure out some artwork, and then at night I go back and I rearrange the text so that it accommodates the pictures that we want, and rework the text to make sure that the text is talking about the images that we're creating, so they become self-referential during the document, to help close the loop on learning, because we're providing a lot of information here that requires you're moving tokens and stuff, right, on a battlefield, so it requires a lot of diagrams and like just to show how things get moved around so that your brain can grok the stuff. So it doesn't become an overwhelming document to absorb. Instead, it becomes cool and fun to go through to see what the different solutions are for how ships can engage with each other at these larger scales. So that's what we're trying to entice people to get interested in looking at scale as one of the mechanics that you can use when you're playing a tabletop role-playing game that has tokens, to be able to visualize how this stuff happens, but then ultimately to be able to pull away from the grid and be able to do this stuff in theater of the mind. Once you understand how the mechanics work visually in space in relation with each other, then you can start disintegrating the mechanics, and you can be looking at like, well, maybe most people are going to want scale combat at 5 foot. That's why Wizards built Spelljammer the way it is, as these flotillas, these floating dungeons that bump into each other. When they do, you can jump from one dungeon room to the next by attacking the next ship. But to be able to get from one ship to another, it takes like 30 rounds of movement according to the mechanics, and there's nothing that actually, according to Wizards, it takes about 30 rounds to close distance from 1,000 feet to the 5-foot scale when your ship only moves 30 feet per round. And when you're firing a siege weapon, it takes like 3 rounds for you to fire each siege weapon. So you basically have 10 rounds of combat wasted every 3 rounds to be able to get one ship to hit another ship so you can engage in that 5-foot scale combat. This entire book is designed to take the idea of you being a 5-foot character, and then you and your crew expand out so that your organism, your creature becomes the ship at the 50-foot or 500-foot scale. And then everyone's action economy, whether you're using individual, group, or a blend of both of them, you can have your team operating the ship to fight other ships at this larger scale at the same speed of combat that you're going to be conducting deck combat as an individual creature at the 6-second marker per round, because these ships move 10,000 miles per 6 seconds. They can zip in, do combat, jump away, chase each other, dart through asteroids, get into a fleet, and have ship combat like you'd expect in Star Wars, or like some of the cool episodes of Star Trek. Babylon 5, especially the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. There is a ton of cool crap cinematically you can do using the mechanics that we've been building out here. And I'm hoping that you'll, if you tag along with me now, that you'll be able to see how these things come through. And if you catch this later on, once the book publishes, like all the other work I have down below, it's going to have an extensive preview. So, yeah, strap in. We're going to do this for... how long are we going to do this for? We got about... and it's 6:40. It's later in the day than I expected. We only got 80 minutes today, so... But I'm here 6 days. I'm here 6 days a week. Monday through Friday morning, we do Spelljammer art like this. Monday and Thursday nights, we do map production and creature tokens for the Eberron adventure we've been designing. Tuesday at lunchtime, we do text, like actually writing text for the next book that's coming out after this one, the martial power system, using a mana power source for martial characters to do cool martial stuff, exploration stuff, social stuff, using skill boosts and different magic effects. And then Saturday morning, we do personal projects or commissions, and I'm currently doing a book cover commission. So 6 days a week, 9 different events. Check out as much as you want. Like, subscribe, bell icon gets you into the fold. So these are the tokens that we're currently using for this section of the book. Most of the language that we're going to be using is going to be either a galleon, a hammerhead ship for size comparisons. Here, let me give you a grid. Here's a 5-foot grid. You can see that this galleon fills, kind of like a horse, fills a 2x2 space. This galleon fills a 3x3 space. Even though it's not, massive and squat like a giant would be, a horse at the 5-foot scale is only really filling a 5x2 space. That was a problem they had in 3rd edition that they ended up fixing by making everything spherical. So instead of a horse being a 2x5, the horse became a 2x2, so that they could have consistency in facing language and whether or not something could fit into a space or not. That then developed squeezing that we see in larger creature negotiating smaller passages. So we don't have any squeezing going on here. These things are filling their space with an air bubble. Going down here to the page that we're currently working on, you can see these are the tokens that we're currently using, but if we disintegrate that or make it go away, you can see here that we're talking about the different map scales that we operate at. 500 vessels occupies 1 square on maps of this size or any scale larger than 500 feet. Much like how a pixie fills a 5-foot square when you find one in a dungeon. 50-foot scale, a vessel occupies a number of squares equal to its listed space on map of this scale, and a craft occupies 1 square on maps of this scale. So we get the 500-foot scale. This This is a fighter craft, while this is a vessel. You can see that the craft here at the 500-foot scale is also occupying 1 square, and the vessel is occupying 1 square. I need to rearrange that text positioning. 50-foot scale, we have the fighter craft here occupying 1 square, as detailed here, and then this hammerhead ship occupying up to 5 squares. So its sphere of influence, is a 5 by 5 space, just like say a gargantuan dragon would be a 20 by 20 foot space. Here at the 5-foot scale, a ship occupies a number of squares equal to its length divided by 5 on maps of the scale. So a flitter ship is a 50-foot craft, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 by 10, 50 feet. And then you've got the vessel, this hammerhead ship, at 250 feet there. So you can see that's how, I mean, obviously I didn't draw the whole thing here out. It falls off the edge of the page and we'll have a margin over here. But regardless, that's your scale of comparison. So when you're looking at doing maps, if you don't need to board the ship to fight it, if you're just planning on blasting out of the sky, you don't really need to worry about the 5-foot scale combat. You can focus on the 50 and 500-foot scale so that you have manageable sized tokens operating on the board. And then you don't need to know where your individual character is on the ship. They're on the ship. They're just running around and they're causing trouble for enemies from afar. So all the characters, we talked about the action economy and use, but I do need to actually update this token. So I'm going to grab these tokens here. I need to use a different icon. Let's get into here. Let's go grab the flitter token. We'll make a copy. Take this up to here. Tokens, we'll suppress the tokens. Dun 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 dun. Go down to here. Dun dun dun. Go down to here. Dun dun dun. And done. Flitters, I need to swap out the flitters here. Let's grab this. So this is me pushing pixels around. You're gonna see a lot. You won't see a lot of this because once I establish that a grid like this is needed, I generally do this work at night off screen because it's not as entertaining as watching me, do ideation for like an actual painting and then like actually paint it. However, duplicate. I want you guys to see the process so you know what it is that I am doing when no one is looking. So here we go. This is what we're doing. We're taking we're laying down these grids, and then we're placing tokens inside of the grids. And then we move on to the next target. So let's get this to the right size here in position. There. Hey, Hernetico, it's good to see you, my guy. Scoot this guy over here. And then we'll duplicate this layer. Pull these out of here. And then we'll go down to the next grid size. 500-foot square. And then we'll go to the 50-foot flitter. Blip, blip. Take this copy of the flitter, boom, 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 drop down to here, Scoot it over. Reduce scale. This is the romance of page layout, graphic design, and illustration. Make the tokens, push the tokens around, put them on the aesthetically pleasing position on the page, move on to the next page. This chapter, this combat chapter, has a lot of movement and specification type stuff, like mechanical stuff. So a lot of the illustration space is actually just diagrams and charts and stuff like this, futzing tokens around a board. I gotta build the board to futz the tokens around on. So I know this isn't the sexiest work, but it is what it is. Let's open this up. There's our footer. But this page is almost done, so I had to swap out these tokens because I made new tokens. Because we had to upgrade the weapon systems on all these things, so they all got more weapons than they used to. So upscale, free transform. I had an inspiration last night, and I'll share it with you. What up? Hey, made some art for Systems Arturian inspired branch. Excellent. You rounding up some folks for playtesting, or are you still getting stuff prepped so you know what to test? That's what I often find difficult is when I'm going to playtest something is like having the constructed thing to test inside of. There was some, God, I don't remember who the podcast is. I'm sorry out there. But someone was talking about the Tales of the Valiant Cobalt Press playtest and how obnoxious it was at Gen Con. How put out their playtest team seemed to be. Maybe they were just having a bad experience at the time, but their main comment was, if you're making changes to the 5e system, your playtesting should be showcasing what those changes are, so that people can get a feel for why they should bother investing in your book. And but what they had was just a generic 5e style adventure that was difficult to parse where the new stuff was and where it wasn't. This is a very, very good piece of feedback for any designer to hear, honestly. Not to crap on Cobalt over and over again, because it's kind of low-hanging fruit to take shots at TOV at this point. But and I don't like bullying the weak. But that's a really good point, that if you're going to playtest something, which is kind of like why I like doing the taking an adventure. Like adventures, the adventures that Wizards produces inspires almost all the work that I do. Like Ravnica didn't have color magic, so I created the color mana spell point system so you could actually use MTG color magic while you're using Ravnica or Theros or Strixhaven. They didn't have Strixhaven. All of the colleges require you to use spellcasting, so I created the elemental key book so that you can convert monks into at least the 4 elements monk, and more to come maybe, assuming I stick around. I'll do more for all the other monks, but convert them into half-casters so that they could get scholarships for the Mage Tower sport, so that you could have monks. And then that also inspired the Martial Powers book that we're working on Tuesdays at lunch. It's all classes have a mana system, so all different classes could potentially be students at Strixhaven learning how to control their mana. Instead of it just being a wizard's college, Harry, it becomes a place for you to understand how to harness and control mana. And I just think that's a better resource to have overall for classes, because it's a unifying mechanic that everyone can use to speak together. So again, Strixhaven helped inspire the Martial Powers book. The Elemental Key book was inspired by Strixhaven. The Spelljammer document was inspired by Spelljammer. God's willing, the mass combat system we're using was inspired by Horde of the Dragon Queen, as well as Descent into Avernus, having mass combat systems to be able to engage with the challenges that those adventures put forward. All the work that I do is about what has Wizards inspired me to expand the idea of what 5e games can actually be through no fault of their own, because they're just creating adventures. But I appreciate the inspiration, which is why I've been publishing this work on the DMsGuild, because give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. They've been my font of inspiration. At some level, it felt dishonest for me to take their ideas, run away, and go someplace else. However, we don't know what's going on with 1D&D. We don't know what's going on with the DMsGuild. We don't know what's going on with the marketplace on D&D Beyond. There's no they attempted to screw with the OGL. There is no guarantee anywhere that I'm going to be welcome by Wizards in the future. So I have to think about, where's my future going to go? What do I need to do to be able to build this so I can do more of this? And honestly, kind of thinking about Cypher system. So I ran Eberron campaigns in Cypher before. I may be doing that in the future again. So making test adventures is sort of what the plan. Yeah, perfect, man. You're thinking right. Play testing, yeah. Right idea, man. Good. So we have this page of art is done now. We've swapped out the tokens with modern day token design. All these ships have a lot more weapons than what's described in the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space book that Wizards put out, because Wizards didn't have a plan about why one ship would have more weapons than the other. We have mechanics that go into that involved with fleets. When you have a bunch of ships flying together in a fleet, you need to be able to calibrate the damage that multiple ships do versus just one ship, which is what inspired the amount of weapons that these ships are supposed to have. These ships now have compared to what Wizards provided. But all in due time, we'll get to that when we get to the fleet section, the fleets and squadron section of the book. So we just keep pushing through the document. This is the next one that I wanted to look at here. This is actually the last page that we had to make adjustments for on this side of the ship roll section. So this block of pages, page 12 to 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 8 pages are all of the mechanics that really go into the combat portion of scaling movement, how to engage with different tokens, different movements that they make, how they can scale in and out of combat or scaling in and out of stable structures. This is all stuff that has to be explained so that your brain can just kind of absorb the information and then release it, so that these rules become rulings for the DM when you want to engage in these more token-based ship combats. Once you absorb this information, you as a DM and a player are going to be able to more easily visualize how the ships are moving in and out of scale with each other, how they're taking shots at each other, how they're providing cover, what kind of movement restrictions they have, all that stuff. That's what we're doing here. So this is the last page that I need to drop some illustration language on, and then we'll move to the weapons and crew section of the book, because that's the next portion. Because we already done all this stuff. Like in the last 2 episodes, we laid in these sketches that we have. So it's about time for us to move on to the second half of the document. But I just want to take a few moments here to drop in some visual language. Let's see what we're looking at. Opportunity attacks, aligning gravity planes. Okay, great. So if you are adjacent to, in the illustration below, depicts a spiderling craft and night spider vessel, both aligned with the gravity plane of a space galleon. When the galleon moves, the spiderling automatically paces the movement, while the night spider automatically breaks alignment. Because we're talking about aligning gravity planes. Yeah, actually, let's use the tools that we've been creating, that we've been using, to actually see, so you guys can see how this process goes. So you saw me just lay in some tokens a moment ago. I've got my text here. We're going to lock that screen. This is going to be called trash. And we're going to drop the trash down below the text. We're going to go back to our tokens page, open that up. We have this smaller scale grid. So we're going to grab a copy and drag it down here into the space that we have set up for this illustration. That scale is certainly small enough for us to be able to navigate these ships with. So what we're going to do is, let's see. pull these out. Let's make a copy of the Space Galleon because we made reference to that one in the illustration sample above. We're going to merge that grid, have our Space Galleon copy. We need a Night Spider copy, and we'll need a copy of the Spiderling. Stitch shut the tokens again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have all the bits that we need. Let's grab these bits, push them above there, and then pull them down here. Not to scale. So let's fix that. What is the shit? I need token. I need a air bubble. So let's go fetch an air bubble from this board that we were just on. 50-foot scale should be okay. Flittercraft air bubble. Duplicate that layer. There. Compress. I'll get to actual sketching after we finish this, but I just wanted to demonstrate how this stuff shakes out. Stitch that shut, close that down. Dun, dun, dun. Go up here to the air bubbles. Above the grid. Here. And then this one's the biggest ship on the board, so this is the biggest bubble we need. And we want to bring this down so that it is boxing in our spiderling, or our, this is a night spider. Here, and then I hear you, timer, and I appreciate you. Another 20 minutes on the block. Let's take a sip of coffee. Super green. Super green. All right, cool. That's sitting pretty now. And everybody needs an air bubble. Night spider. We're going to go back down here into tokens. We're going to conceal this night spider. Duplicate that layer there. We're building as we go here, so check it. We can take this and we can duplicate that. Spiderling. Now, duplicate this layer again. Space Galleon. Space Galleon. Sorry. That's dorky. That's fun to sing. Let's see. Get the Night Spider set up here. Let's get the Spiderling set up here. And we'll get the Space Galleon set up here. Once we have the bubble sized proper for the token, we'll be able to actually reconstruct this grid. To properly sit. This is going to be let's get this lined up here like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the full size, but we only want 4. We only want 8. Let's drop this down here like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5, 6, 7. This lined up, so we got the box lined up there, and now we just got to get the Spiderling to sit inside of its space correctly. Make them a little bigger. Blah, 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 bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Too big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where the cutoff is supposed to be. Little wiggle butt's too big. And that means that the bubble's too big. Wiggle butt. Let's make it the proper size. Reap. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Cool. Spiderling. And Space Galleon. I feel like there's 2 air bubbles underneath here. What's going on with that? Double bubble trouble? Oh, that's right, because I doubled down on that guy. There we go. All right, cool. So now that we have those set, let's see. I don't think we're going to need this large of a space. I now have to resize the tokens and the grid together to be able to properly fill the space, but also to be able to show motion. So the illustration below depicts a spiderling craft and night spider vessel A and B, both aligned with the gravity planes of a space galleon C. When the galleon moves, the spiderling automatically paces the movement, while the night spider automatically breaks alignment. This is talking about it's sitting inside of different ships' gravity planes. So give me a moment here to stitch that up, and then dump, and dump. Grab those items, drop down here into the illo section. Illo. I think what I'm going to want to do is not looking at any of these. What I need, okay, so what I need to do is, if I have, we're gonna mutt this real quick. So yeah, we'll just use squares for you. Why not? So let's see. This is the size of a spiderling. We're gonna drop our opacity. Actually, yeah. Let's drop that a bit. We got a spiderling here. Fills a 4x4 space. A galleon fills a 3x3 space. And the night spider 4x4, galleon 3x3, spiderling 1x1. So for me to be able to then, I'm going to duplicate these. And what we're trying to demonstrate is here's our galleon. Here's our spiderling. And here is our night spider. So if these... So if these all start here like this, and then... then our galleon moves. Alright, so this is technically all I need to have on the board to be able to illustrate what we're trying to do here. So the way that it works here is when you align your gravity plane, it means that you're here, we'll read it. So if the ship you're piloting is adjacent to or occupying space within the gravity plane of a target that you touch or hit with a melee attack, you can choose to align your gravity plane with the target. If you fully occupy space within the target's gravity plane, you are considered pacing the target without using a reaction or any additional movement to do so. You or the target can use the disengage action to break alignment. If you are adjacent to or only partially occupying the target's gravity plane, alignment automatically breaks when the target moves at least one square away without needing to disengage first, though doing so can result in an opportunity attack as detailed above. The illustration below depicts a spiderling craft, the little one, and a night spider vessel, the really big one, both aligned with the gravity plane of the space galleon, the middle one. When the galleon moves, which we'll illustrate here in a second, the spiderling automatically paces the movement while the night spider automatically breaks alignment. Pacing, which we described on a separate page, was when you have a ship and your target ship, if your target ship tries to move in or out of distance to you to try to close distance or open space, you can use your reaction to pace them. So when they move, you move with them. There's risk involved with that. If you're trying to pace a ship, and like say you're in an asteroid field and you start pacing another ship, that ship can maneuver to ram you into the side. Like it can bait you into ramming into the side of a rock if you're pacing with it. If you're grappling with something, you could carry it and slam it into the side of a wall or like a rock and cause damage to it that way. But if a ship is pacing you to try to keep in range to like do weapon fire, and you're moving along, and then one ship slams into a rock, you're going to lose that rock, and then that ship's no longer going to be pacing. Pacing is a reaction, and it uses movement, though you have almost infinite movement when you're moving only 500 feet at a time. When your ship is capable of moving 10,000 miles per round, you're actually very, very small movements of what the ship could potentially be doing in comparison to the larger picture. So being able to use a reaction and then use, like, basically get free action, like free movements to be able to pace with another ship that's using its action economy to move per round is well within the capacity of what these ships can do, which we just described up above. But when you are aligning your gravity plane and your ship is smaller than the other one so that you're completely occupying the space of the target ship, when that ship moves, because you are aligned with it, you are now being carried with it. Fighter craft are far slower than vessels. Vessels can do 10,000 miles per round. Fighter craft can only do 100 miles per round. But the scale of combat is no bigger than a mile, so it doesn't matter at the micro scale unless a vessel tries to escape a cloud of fighter ships. Then those fighter ships want to align their gravity plane with the vessel so that as the vessel moves, the fighters are carried with them and can continue to engage in combat while a larger, like a carrier ship, catches up. This carrier's, the Night Spider's too big to completely occupy, to have... the illustration below depicts if you are adjacent to or only partially occupying the target's gravity plane, alignment automatically breaks when the target moves at least one square away without needing to disengage, though doing so can result in an opportunity attack as detailed above. So in this instance, the Night Spider is only partially occupying the space here, so when the moves like this, it keeps the spiderling, but the Night Spider literally just stays behind because alignment automatically breaks. So if Instead, the night spider, like completely occupied, like that. Then it's basically grappling and controlling the space galleon. The space galleon can't just get away from the night spider. The spider is enveloping its space. So there you go. Let's see. So what we want to do now that we have the movement here, I can just take this and like push it back a few squares just to demonstrate, and that means that we can take these three things and we can scale them up so that we're only using the space needed inside of the text. Now that that's about all we need. I'm going to drop the size just a bit more here. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. I'm going to squeeze the space a little bit, and I'm going to scoot that one in a touch. It doesn't need to be that far away. So we're going to go to here, and we're going to scoot the whole construction over like this to fill that space. This is a very simple diagram, so it doesn't require a crap ton of space to do this. So we're going to have this half mark here for these grid lines, so that I can erase the grid line up here. Don't want to crowd it. Just want to line this up properly. I can scoot, you know what? I could scoot the spider in. Like that. That way we can disintegrate the edge here. Let's duplicate these layers before we hard commit to anything. Free transform equals bump, 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 rotate. Drop this in here. Get this down to the size of grid that we're working on, like this. I'm being nitpicky, but I'm okay with that. There. Let's Space Galleon. Duplicate that group and then let's take our spiderling. Now, That is very, very small. Luckily, PDFs have huge zoom ability, so I can afford to make this thing pretty small. That's a word, zoom ability. Those. Push these back to the top into the token area where they can be useful. Transform. We can look at upsizing these again. Fill the space. Too much space, too much fill. That feels pretty good. Like that. So there's Spiderling is A, Night Spider is B, and then the Galleon is C. So I want to rearrange this. Let's free transform. Let's flip horizontal and flip vertical. Oops, I left my Spiderling behind. Screw you, Spiderling. We'll do that so there's no confusion about the spheres. Text. Hey Zip, what's up, my buddy? Even though a sphere, okay, so potentially an obscure rule in D&D, spheres are squares. Spheres are cubes, and circles are squares in D&D. We talk about extensively about like for example, this Galleon occupies a 3x3 space. Even though the aesthetics are a sphere of air bubble around them, this is technically a 3x3. So when we talk about a ship only partially occupying the space of another ship, like here we're seeing a 2x2 overlap between this night spider versus this Galleon. So when this moves, the alignment, since the fighter craft is aligned inside of the square, inside of the space of the Galleon, when the Galleon moves, it carries the Spiderling craft with it, even though it leaves the Night Spider behind, because the Night Spider is not fully inside the space of the Galleon, even if their gravity planes are aligned. So the only question now is, will it blend? No, that's not the question. I can afford to reduce the size of this map grid here, so that's what we're gonna do. Like this, we don't need all this excess stuff. Get rid of all that. And we can go to here. We'll just do a complete encapsulation, and then we'll go to image and then crop. That way all the stuff that was off screen that we couldn't see is gone. So now we can then go into here to the illustration, and we can put a masking layer on this to help block off without having to destroy the grid from here. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. And then we can unhook this so that the grid remains independent of the text. So this is probably going to be like if you're reading a PDF, I think this is a comfortable scale Ironic, we're talking about scaling so much, but you have to look at what's the size of the illustration that you have, and the information that's inside of the token compared to what the text is that's on the screen. So this is about a decent size for you. I mean, it's a PDF, right? Here's your full page of the PDF. So this is a very comfortable scale to be reading at, and the information on here is legit. So we can go like A, B, C. I don't want that C in the way. I'm not happy overall with how this is sitting. I think I need to. I'm trying to. So A, B, and C is the Spiderling Craft is an A, and see you can zoom in a lot with PDF. So you can easily zoom into this point and see all this stuff very, very easily. So I have A, B, and C on the screen. I've got A, B, and again, we're trying to figure out C. What I want to do, ideally, is be able to arrange the information on this screen so that text in English flows left to right, up to down. So if I'm going to have A, B, and C, it would be ideal that I'd be able to have the Spiderling first here at A, have the Night Spider B, and then the Galleon C. Kind of hitting that mark of left to right and then up to down, but the I holds a lot more, I think a lot more priority. It's like the ship here being in the middle is kind of like the letter's going to say A, B, and C, but the eyes are looking at A, C, and B. So I'm not necessarily happy about that, but it's the way that I have the text written in the example piece. So I want to arrange these in a way that is going to allow... Oh, that's the way to do it. Just play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working. Well, that's the way we'll do it. Actually, I think I just grokked it. I can't do it that way, though. Go with Space Galleon 1, Spiderling 1. Get those there. No, stop merging, little cussers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Galleon, Spiderling, Night Spider. Spiderling is A, Night Spider is B, Space Galleon is C. We can probably do this. Let's get rid of those letters. Go back here. A. So let's reimagine this. We have A. We have B. And we have C. Shit. Still not working out right. Oh, wait. Yeah. No, not happy with this yet. I might have to just let that go. Like, some things are worth and some aren't. A, B, and C. Yeah, this is the same circumstance. I was originally thinking having all of this, like, here, and then have the Galleon push through here to get out of the space, but that doesn't make sense either. So maybe I should just go back to where it was, and maybe it's not actually that important. Maybe that's something I don't really have to micromanage so much. So let's let that go, Kearney. We're gonna let that go. So we got A, B, and C, but I do need to rearrange where that C is, so it's not in the way. How do I want to do this? whoa, whoa, whoa. What's going on with you, little letter? Oh, that's what's going on. Get out of here, you freaking scallywag. There we go. A. There, get A and B properly lined up. There. A, B, and that'll work. That'll work. Okay, I'm happy with that. I can keep the letters clear. A, B, and C. And then oops, let me get those lined up. There. Here, we gotta fix this. This is why I don't do this on screen a lot, because it's not very exciting content watching me pushing pixels around like this, but it is part of the process. So I wanted to share it today so you guys see what it is that I'm doing off screen most of the time. Push that to there. Push this to here, and then we'll get back into actual illustrations here in a minute. I just wanted to fuck around with this for a little bit. 100. Where am I missing a galleon? There it is. Duplicate that layer and then push back up to here. Oh, that's right. This one's faded. That's why that's messed up. You need to do that. That's cool. Go to here. Push this one back up. There we go. Now everything is synchronizing properly. Just got air bubble, grid, air bubble. Let's grab all these air bubbles and push them down here like that. here. Here. Close that up. Close that up. Grid here, and then to here. Burp. All right, so now this whole thing can get dropped down to 25%, which is where these things sit. And we can just thinking this through here real quick. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 1, 2, and 3. Take these 3 things here. Drop those to... Let's see. Okay, this is how we want to do that. So we take this fade here. And take a... There we go. Go with, let's go with a black arrow here. Why are you not doing what I want you to do? Bubble. There we need 100%. There we go. There. Now we got it. Crappy letters, got to fix those. We'll drop in a font when we go back and we import this picture back into the Word document here. We'll be able to, you can see here on the Word, zooming in here, aligning gravity planes. So when we finish this, we'll be able to take this little illustration here, drop it into the space here, then use these fonts that we have here and be able to pick it up and then just drop little individual letters. We'll make a we'll probably use a different font, like a bold, lowercase, like lower cap bold Roboto font, so that yeah, so A, B, and C will literally have these letters, but they'll be bold and they'll be on the page here, filling this space. So like a get out of here. Like a 14. That's probably like a 16-point font. That we're looking at that'd be able to fill that square, so we'll be able to establish what's the size of font that we use as we go throughout the document to establish our label. Like we have letters A, B, C, D, E, and then we have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we use to identify different things inside the page. And we've already established in the book that we have this fading effect is a means of showing where a ship was and where it's heading. So I'm pretty happy with that as just a general, like there's that. Then we have over here we have this this section on surging. Surging means to rush forward. Like literally, surge means to rush forward. So when we're working with these different scales of movement, you know, let's close this one up because we're good with this one for now. Anyway, we'll build another. Oops, we actually want to keep construction here. There, that. Not like that. Just really ABC. The illustration below depicts a spiderling craft A, a night spider vessel B. The illustration below depicts a spiderling craft and night spider vessel, both aligned with the gravity plane of a space galleon C. When the galleon moves, the spiderling automatically paces the movement, while the night spider automatically breaks alignment. There you go. When the galleon moves, I could put like. Ooh, that's also what I can do. Where are we at? Okay, we still got 20 some odd minutes. So let's crappy arrow. We have arrow tools inside of the Word document. We can create shapes with an arrow tool, or I can just create an icon of an arrow. I just haven't figured out what I want to do there yet, but we're figuring it out. So this is our first stage, and then labeling will be the next stage. We'll go through and we'll finish all the diagrams, and then we'll go back through and we'll label all the diagrams. I don't need to bore you with that stuff. I wanted to bore you with that today so you guys understand what process goes through in constructing these things. So I can do something like X. Like this doesn't move forward. Yeah, I could do that. Maybe not. I don't know specifically. Still working out the language here on how we want these things. It's a sit. I've lost. Where are you? Why are these letters as they do? Oh, because they're up here. That's right. Nope, not like that. Here. And we can like A, B, C. That opens up that space. Maybe I want to use a little X language. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave that for now. We still have to figure out our labeling, but we will. Over here in surging, we have to build another graph like this, but this is just so you can look at it. Since all this is going to be free preview anyway. Surging refers to moving here. I'm gonna close this up here real quick. So you, again, for anyone that's not indoctrinated already, we're looking at scales of movement here. There's the 500-foot scale, 50-foot scale, and 5-foot scale for the different scales of combat that you can engage with. We don't have this one completed yet, but here's how a 500-foot scale looks like on a larger battle map. We need to drop in some tokens here to show how things look at the again at the 50-foot scale, and then at the 5-foot scale you have larger ships aligned alongside each other. And so when we're operating on a map, if we're operating at the 500-foot scale, you can have two ships next to each other at the 50-foot scale, and they can stay at the 50-foot scale even though they might be moving at the 500-foot scale. It's relative. If you have these two ships next to each other, if they stay next to each other, the 5-foot scale map never changes because those ships stay in relationship with each other. And they wouldn't change at the 50-foot scale because, again, they're staying lockstep next to each other. But at the 500-foot scale, they could be moving all around the board. But if they're remaining in formation with each other, they'll never deviate from here. And that's kind of how the system works. What is changing on the map? I can have ships moving around and dogfighting with them at the 50-foot scale, but they're still inside of this 500 by 1,000 foot space here on the map. So if these two ships were dogfighting, it wouldn't matter at the 500-foot scale. And if they're engaging in combat like that, then they're not going to be at the 5-foot scale because they aren't adjacent to each other at the 5-foot scale. If they intend to grapple and board each other, then we can drop those tokens at this larger, at this larger space to have as a map that you can have characters running around on the deck of your ship. But until they do so, you don't need the 5-foot scale map at all. Which we talk about in organizing, like down below, like Theater of the Mind and stuff like that, and arranging your maps. So the 500-foot scale, you're always going to want to have reference because at any time you can try to break away and do larger movements and engage with each other with ranged combat. But if you're going to close to this 50-foot scale, that's like for skirmishing, in dogfighting, grappling, melee attacks, like ship melee attacks against each other. That's when this 50-foot scale becomes active. But again, this arena here is within context of here. If we're operating at this larger scale of combat, if one of these ships flies over here to be 2,000 feet away, this 50-foot scale map also becomes irrelevant because they're not engaging with each other inside of that 500-foot space. So at all times, you can be controlling how much map area do you need to be able to pick the battles that you use. This is something that you can conceivably just be doing with Theater of the Mind already. But if you like the tactical play of 5e combat, you can do so with ships each filling a 5-foot square. And oops, this just locked up, so I need to save and then reopen it. You can have that 5-foot scale combat here. It's just that these ships are 500 feet in size, not 5 feet in size. But the mechanics that we're providing in here lay out that you can still use that 5e combat in general with these larger scales. All these 8 pages here that we have provide all the technical information for you to be able to have movement and engaging ships with each other at these different scales. That's what we're illustrating here, how to zoom in and out of combat, how you can scale up and down in movement along with the map. Surging here refers to, like, if I'm operating at the 50-foot scale of map, but I'm flying at the 500-foot scale, at the 500-foot scale, that's 10 squares worth of map space at the 50-foot scale. The ships can move 10,000 miles per round. That's 100 million miles per day. So a 10,000 miles square, that's too big to depict for a 5-foot scale combat or a 50-foot scale combat. So we just use the size of scale that we actually need to engage the ships at the scale that they're at. But I can always move faster. So if I'm going to move at a speed that's faster than the scale of map, that's called surging. And so every time I use 1 square of movement on my ship at the 500-foot scale, I've got 5 squares of movement for every movement, and then I can use a dash action for another 5 squares worth of movement. So you effectively have like a 25-foot speed if you were to convert that down to a character walking around on a map. But you're not. You're flying at 1,000 miles per square. So that 500-foot square of movement is actually 10 squares of movement at the 50-foot scale. So if we're at the 50-foot scale, like we're going to have an illustration like this, which is going to be a smaller pixels per square. But for example, in the illustration below, a ship on a map at the 50-foot scale can use 1 square of movement to surge forward 300 feet, which is 6 squares, and then use another 2 squares to move 100 feet as normal movement at the 50-foot scale, and then another square to surge forward 250 feet, which will be 5 feet of squares, and then finally surge again 500 feet. So A, B, C, D. So we're gonna have a ship like one of these ships, or a different ship, who cares, in this 50-foot scale. Maybe I'll just use like a flitter ship, which is a fighter craft that fills a 50-foot square. That'd be the easiest way to do it, is to have one starting here, have asteroids scattered throughout the field here, and then have A is to zip over here, and then B is to move a little bit, and then C to zip over here, and then like maybe zip, normal, zip, surge, normal, surge, to do my 5 squares worth of movement. But I'll need to have obstacles and like ships to engage with inside of this map space to show why you would want to surge, to be able to like easily maneuver around objects without having to, like, if I've got asteroids that are floating around at a 50-foot scale, you're not going to see all of them at the 500-foot scale. If you have obstacles like that, you need to zoom in to the lower scale size so you can see these threats instead of just slam into them. Because if you're gonna surge forward or fly into them at 1,000 miles per hour, you are crashing. That is falling or collision damage. You're gonna fuck your ship up. So if you have obstacles, you need to slow your ship down to the scale of speed that you can actually maneuver your ship around. So surging and then normal movement is actually really useful in these asteroid fields, because there's an asteroid field challenge in the Light of Xeraxis book adventure that we convert using these mechanics to fight spiderling fightercraft in the second chapter. Spoiler alert, in the second chapter, your galleon gets ambushed by a night spider and a bunch of spiderlings. So when you get down into the Light of Xeraxis chapter, you're going to already have this information hard-coded into your brain that you can maneuver ships around by surging and using normal movement at the 50-foot scale to navigate these asteroids that you're already going to be fighting inside of the Light of Xeraxis challenge later on. So that's why we're using these particular tokens and using this particular example in the asteroid field, so that you're being hard-coded to automatically have visual information about how is this space galleon, spiderling, and night spider supposed to be fighting each other in an asteroid field on a map in a virtual tabletop when you have 4 players on the deck of this galleon using their actions together to take shots at these ships and try to escape being engaged with them in melee. So that's where all of this hard coding is coming from, why we're using these particular maps, these particular examples with these particular tokens to hard code all that information, so that you're just reflexively going to grok it once you get down to the appendix where we revise Light of Xeraxis to use all of these mechanics. It's a master plan that we're building here. Big brain stuff, right? God willing. So there's that. I'm not going to bore you with this map because this was pretty boring to do, and there's a lot of me just doing graphic design work that futz around inside of it. But who cares? We've got, let's see, where are we at right now in this process? We've got, this will be a fleet. No room for text here. No room for text here. And okay, great. So we're just going to go ahead and close this combat section 1, and then we're going to open up section 2. So I'm going to do all that map stuff that we're looking at. I'm going to be doing that offline during my evening offline time. I only stream so much during a week, but I do a lot more art other than just what's on stream. So I'm going to use my downtime or my away time to do all that stuff. Now we can come back and we can start doing more sketches. I'm almost out of time. So this is pretty much where we're starting in section 2 of the combat section. It's a 34-page chapter. That's the first 14 pages going through movement and ship rolls. You can look at the previous episodes to see what the ship rolls are. And then now we're starting to actually build out the mechanics and the language here for weapons and crew. As you can see here, this is another map that I need to, another page I'm going to have to arrange and figure out what my grids are going to be like. But, great. Here, we're finally starting with new stuff. So I'm going to need to scoot this over here. And when I go back into the Word document, we'll have a, we haven't done the frame art, but we're just going to do some like Astral Sea and Wild Space Star stuff. And when we do, we'll be able to properly align all these boxes in the Word document. Scroll down. Weapons and crew. Like this box is off a few, right? Like that's what I'll need to do. Some of them, some of them are marked correctly, some of them aren't. So that's why we go through this process. We build this border to make sure all our squares are lined up. I'll need to drop in the grid here just to make sure that lines up properly. But just doing some spot checking. I also going to do like some grammar editing as we go through this process. But here's the effects. We'll end with this, and then we'll pick up next time. So grappling. A pilot can grapple as a ship melee attack with any weapons that has a grappling weapon property, making a pilot check against the AC of the target object. I can actually get rid of the word object. AC of the target. Period. 1, 2, 3. An attack roll with a grappling weapon that hits results in the target being grappled. Siege grappling weapons can grapple creatures and objects up to 500 feet in size. Mounted grappling weapons can grapple creatures and objects up to 50 feet in size. Effects of grappling. The following conditions apply when ships remain grappled. While grappling, rams and additional grappling attacks are rolled with advantage against the grappled target. And the grappling ship can use a bonus action to scuttle the grappled target, as detailed below in the scuttling section. Let's see, as detailed below. A ship that is grappled cannot move from its current square, or increase the scale of distance from the grappling ship. A ship that is actually that's kind of a redundant statement because if you can't move, you can't increase scale. So I can potentially get rid of that. Cannot move from its current square. Yeah. A ship that is grappled can be towed by the grappling ship if its towing capacity allows. The ships that are grappled are adjacent to the grappler at the 5-foot scale, and creatures can use grappling weapons as difficult terrain to move between the grappling ship and grappled target. A ship that's grappled cannot roll with advantage on saving throws to avoid being scuttled. It's basically a Constitution saving throw or a Dexterity saving throw. Take your pick. Some ships have advantage, some ships have disadvantage depending on what you're doing. A ship that's grappled cannot roll with advantage on saving throws to avoid being scuttled, and a grappling weapon cannot be used against another target until the current grapple ends. Though some grappling weapons can continue to deal damage to a grappled target as detailed below. And then we have space for a grappling illustration. But wait, there's more! Undersized grappling attacks. A craft or a creature 50 feet or smaller in size that grapples a vessel. Vessels are larger than 50 feet, anywhere from larger than 50 feet up to 500 feet in size. So a craft or creature 50 feet or smaller in size that grapples a vessel or similarly large target can't effectively grapple it as detailed in the grappling section above that we just listed, because the target is too small to be controlled. Instead, you have a hold of it. This is like if I'm a 5-foot character and I successfully grapple a 500-foot ship, that 5-foot character is not going to stop that grappled ship from moving. You're not really grappling it. You're on board the ship. You're not grappling it. You're a passenger. Right? So you have to think about these things, because there's fighter ships that are smaller in scale than than vessels that they might be attacking. So I can't have a 15-foot grapple ship stop a vessel, a 500-foot vessel, from moving. I can't do it. It's too small. That ship, that fighter craft is effectively on board that vessel because of the difference in scale. So what happens if a tiny ship is trying to grapple a huge object? A craft or a creature 50 feet or smaller in size that grapples it, you have a hold of it. Because the target is too small to be controlled, instead you have a hold on it. Similarly, a ship or creature 500 feet or smaller in size can hold a larger target, like a planet, for instance. If you've landed on a planet, your ship is effectively holding that planet. You're not grappling it, you're just on the planet. So when you have a hold of a target, you cannot use that holding weapon or appendage of a creature, such as a hand or a tentacle, and you cannot move from the space you occupy. While you have a hold on a target, it cannot use the disengage action to break alignment with your gravity plane. While you have, I need to change the text here so that it's at bullet points instead of written like this. So I actually have to revise this page. While you have a hold on a target, you cannot use the disengage action to break alignment with your gravity plane, which we just did an illustration for. If that spiderling has a hold and is gripping the ship, it doesn't matter where the ship goes, it can't just shake it free. While you have a hold on a target, you have half cover against ranged attacks and siege weapons, because you're on the deck, so your crew is going to have cover. And a target attempting to break free from the hold rolls with advantage. A target attempting to break free from a hold, because you're just on the ship. So if the whole ship tries to shake you off because you're so much smaller than the object, you have to use an action to break free. So attempting to break free. Breaking a grapple. A pilot can attempt to break their ship free from a grapple by using an attack action or bonus action for each creature or weapon currently grappling it by rolling a strength or dexterity saving throw against the grappling ship's pilot save DC. A ship that has grappled a target can choose to end the grapple during their turn without using an action. So I can just let go of you and you're fine. But if you want to break free from me, you're going to have to either use an attack action or bonus action by using an attack or bonus action. Because if you have 3 attacks, you can make 3 attempts to break free. So like you have like 3 ships. If you're being grappled by like 3 claws, then you have to use 3 attacks or 2 attacks and a bonus action to break free. If you're a wizard and you only have 1 attack per round, then that's your action and your bonus action. You've broken free of 2. But then the ship that's grappling you could just grapple again and grab hold again. So you got this cat and mouse thing going on of trying to get enough action economy to break away from the ship that's holding you so you can get the hell away from it. So there you are. Because and then we have that is it for today. I have to log out and do the deal. But when we come back tomorrow, since you guys saw how we're making that sort of stuff, I don't have to burden you with that layout stuff. I can do that on my own. But when we come back, we're gonna make a grappling illustration. I'm gonna rearrange this text so it matches this bullet point pattern. I need to bullet point all this, which will make that box a little bit larger, which will make this space for an illustration a little bit smaller. So when we come back tomorrow, we're gonna start doing sketches for the illustrations that fit in here, and here, here, and 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 then that chapter will be done. So we've already done this spellcasting chapter. I haven't laid in the illustrations yet, but they're all done already. So we have a slew of illustrations that we still have to go, but a lot of them are going to end up being diagrams like we did today. So when we go through here, we'll be able to sketch out what those diagrams are supposed to be. And then we can go back and focus on all the actual illustrations. So that's the process that we're going through. We just keep building this thing until it's done. Monday through Friday here in the mornings, we do artwork and layout like this. We talk about the mechanics of this stuff and what goes into it. Monday and Thursday night, we build the Eberron adventure that we'll be publishing online with Andy Headley, the old goat. We do that Monday and Thursday night, building maps and creature tokens for the maps in the adventure. That will eventually become our morning project when this is finished and we publish it. Then the Eberron book will become our morning project. Tuesday lunch, we do the martial power system development for mana pools for martial characters. And then Saturday, we're doing the book cover commission for Ryan Holmes and Headley's Abyssal Weapon adventure. Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff going on. We're here 6 days a week. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe. Shout out to me in the chats. Catch me on Discord or on Twitter at Phil Kearney. That's it for today. I'm out of here, guys, and I will see you all tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot for being here.